So today we have with us Archit Watts. Archit is a chartered accountant and has even completed all his levels of CFA. He started his professional journey as a consulting associate at Moody's Analytics, but his aspirations were bigger than a desk job and some spreadsheets. He found his true calling when he joined Chief Minister's Good Governance Associate Program in Haryana to work towards social change. He was given charge for the Palwal district in Haryana, and we will definitely talk with Archit regarding his work later on in the interview. But boy, he has done some amazing work there, and his initiatives has been widely acknowledged. So a very warm welcome, Archit, and I'm really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Akash. I'm also very glad to be here.
So I will just start right away with the first question. So can you brief us a bit about your entire CA journey and how you managed to clear CFA along with it, which in itself is a very demanding professional course?
Uh, so I started CA back in 2012 when I completed my 12th standard. I think rules are a bit changed now that you have. Back in the day, it was CPT. I think it's foundation
Mhm.
now. That was when it was started. Uh, and the motivation was to just do something which is at the top of the field in commerce area, and that was it. I did not really know exactly what are all are the possibilities within CA as a domain, and things happened. It made sense to after I wrote CPT, it made sense to write IPCC. After I wrote IPCC, it made sense to complete it, and it was interesting in the sense that I did explore multiple areas during articleship. Sometimes I tried audit, sometimes I tried taxation. I did for a large amount of time. I tried valuations and financial modeling and that side of things, which got me interested in CFA. I did realize that if I am going ahead with something within finance, I would like to do valuations or financial models, and CFA wasn't as popular as it is right now, but then it felt like the logical next steps in terms of adding some credentials to land a finance job, so which made me do start CFA. And I started CFA in the first year of articleship only, which was 2015, and it sounds like that it's a lot of work, but the thing is, CFA is more less about like memorizing, which CA is a lot about your memory, how good you are with memorizing things, how good you can recall things in the exam. And CFA, I would say, is more about like understanding. Once you understand, you don't even need to look back. You can just solve the questions on that. So which was, I feel, exciting. Level 1 and level 2 was, I feel, level 2 was the most exciting one, and it felt uh, like, so there are some fields in which you feel you're naturally inclined towards, and I feel that was the one. So if when that is the case, you generally don't need like a lot of mental effort to something like that. But of course, there's time management, and sometimes you figure out things. Sometimes your articleship principle needs to be accommodative of that. uh, uh, in my case, I got lucky. He was understanding, and he actually focused on my learning. And he also, because once you learn, you also add value to your own firm. So I guess everyone was invested. So it somehow happened, and I actually CFA I cleared in uh, this first attempts only. I think I cleared level 3 in 2017. Yeah.
Okay, that's great, and I think you are being very humble if you when you say that it's not a very big thing to clear both the courses simultaneously. Because I remember I'd given my CFA level 1 during the articleship only, and that was totally out of FOMO because almost every other person was giving the CFA, so I thought I should also give it, and I've still been waiting to give my level 2 from. So yeah.
I think that's one of the classic mistakes. It's the CFA is a very popular course, and everyone is doing it for the sake of it right now, because it's better having it than not having it if you want something in valuations, finance, things like these. And but I would say it's better to have like more of practical oriented skills. Like if I look back and actually see what would have been a better course of action, I think very intense financial modeling course would have made more sense rather than starting CFA. But I learned that on the job. So somehow things worked out. Back in the day, CFA was not that common. It was not as many people who were doing it. So anything was good to begin with. Now I think people like market is more competitive. So if you don't have it, you definitely had a disadvantage. Earlier, then you could get in with like very basic modeling understanding. I've also been out, so I don't know what is the case today. So yeah.
No, that's entirely the case right now. Okay, so I will move on to my next question. So, what made you to switch your role from a finance job to an altogether different field, which is generally unheard, especially among the CAs, that is in the social sector?
Oh yeah. So in that one, what happened exactly was it was first lockdown. COVID had just started, and because so everyone was home, everyone was working from home. So was I. My offices were shut. Everyone was working from home. So what happened during that time is because I had been working and like trying to pass exams for all this while, whether it be CA or CFA, I realized that in those lockdown days that I had spent relatively, I mean, lesser time on thinking, ki, do I really enjoy my job? So what happens when you keep going to the office for years and years is that you have some colleagues in the office. There's a certain environmental, and there are environmental factors attached to it. There are some social obligations in the office. So when you see exactly look at your work, you don't really see the just the work deliverable aspect to it. There are a whole lot of factors that are attached to it. If your company is good, they value you, you feel a sense of pride in joining that company. So there are multiple factors that are attached when you go to office on a regular basis. But from when work from home happened, those factors were isolated for a while, and I could isolate my work from them, in the sense that I could exactly see what does my work amount to in the end. What exactly is it doing? Which in If you keep all these environmental factors aside, then what exactly is my work about? So I did realize I'd worked hard, but like it was in the end not amounting to much. It was I was on a team supporting a US private equity giant, and of course, if you look at like just the numbers, the deals are worth millions and billions. But uh, to be honest, it's just you're just making some spreadsheets, which are what are they doing in the end? Making just rich people richer, maybe, or you just if that transaction goes through, maybe money will go in the end from one bank account to the other. uh, and that like felt that felt like I felt like very insignificant in the whole scenario of uh, like things in the whole grand scenario. I felt that I did not want to work that hard to amount so less. You can give yourself fancy titles, you can give yourself, I don't know, toys to play with, use your salary and do whatever. But in the end, if you actually look what your work amounts to, is it amounting to just paperwork? Is it amounting to, in the end, letting someone do their business carefree, which is mostly compliance? What is that amounting to? If you ask that question, a lot of us will find that our work is, in the grand scheme of events, our work is actually insignificant, which like actually hit me. And that's when I was figuring out, I was trying to search what all are the possibility, what all I can do. I had some insights from before, I would say. I think I'd done some work on it was some, I think, review or audit assignment only, which in which I saw that there were lives of this illegal surrogates. I'd seen that, and that had like hit me hard. I'd seen I had reviewed some CSR projects in which I realized that these are the things which maybe excited me. And there was this duration of 6 months in which I was doing some spiritual exploration. I was trying meditations, this and that. So I did have some sense of understanding that this field is actually not for me. I may have gotten into it because I felt competitive. It gave me a high for the time being, but it's not. So I had a fair of understanding that I'm not going to last very long in this job. So which made me to look further, look beyond, and that's how it happened. It came up somewhere. I feel I saw someone's LinkedIn post, and yeah, that's when I thought of switching to the new role.
That's great, and it's good that you realized it very early in your life, so that you could like shift
Oh,
from
it's
there.
not early. It's not early. I spent years in passing CA and CFA. So yeah, comparatively early. I
Yeah,
found it
yeah,
in my 20s.
yeah, right.
Sure, some people find what they want to do in 30s, 40s, 50s.
Right, right, and
Well, yeah, lucky that way, not so lucky in other ways. Yeah.
it's okay. So, okay. So, Archit, what is this Chief Minister's Good Governance Associate program all about, and how did you come to know about
I think I saw someone's LinkedIn post, is how I came to know about it. I was also curious, oblivious. So this is a program which runs in Haryana, and uh, the knowledge partner being Ashoka University in this. So what they do is they find like some passionate young people from like around the country, and then they help the Honorable Chief Minister's office and with like two kinds of work. One is there are some flagship schemes and some programs what Chief Minister sir wants to improve in the state, and then that gets allocated to everyone in different ways. It can be the work is a lot of work is in education, a lot of it is in public service delivery, a lot is in healthcare. We've worked at lens at in Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, and there are so many other programs which uh, the Honorable Chief Minister's office allocate the work to with the help of, and the picking is done with the help of Ashoka University, and then there's program team involved. And then there are other element is that you have to do some district initiatives, whatever you feel your district faces, whatever problem, you can create an initiative to fix it at a district level, which will be allocated in your district. But if it goes which will be like implemented in your district, and you will implement it, and if it goes well, and if it actually fixes some of the problem, it gets scaled up to the entire state, is how this is structured. And yeah, there's a process to join. There's a whole lot of number of steps. There are multiple interview rounds. There's I think there's so many group discussion rounds, so many submissions round. There's some case studies, you're given some of the social problems, and they see if you're able to solve social problems of society. There are multiple other like it's a process spread out more than 2-3 weeks, I feel. And that's how I know, and that's how I applied. I think I got lucky somewhere. It was my urge to like actually wanting to do something significant, and I think it worked out. So yeah, it's a competitive process. I think thousands and thousands of applications.
that's it? So, is it like there are any entry barriers also? Is it like open to people from any background or from maybe any stream or maybe like that?
Not really, not really. So if you're a postgraduate,
Hmm.
and luckily CA is considered postgraduate these days, then you can just directly apply. And if you're a graduate, then I think there's 1 or 2 years of work experience requirement, and then you can apply. You can be from any field, you can be from anywhere. There are a lot of people who were in this social sector who came. There were a lot of people, there were engineers, there have been a lot of lawyers. This year, they've taken a lot of lawyers, and there are people from all around. A lot of them came from like very good branded colleges. A lot of them came from after a degree in public policy, some from India, some from abroad. A lot of them came like uh, I'm sure a lot of them took a lot of hit in terms of money. Like they came for things which they feel are important beyond money. And it's a passionate group of 25 people, and everybody wants to like do something great, whatever is our capability according to that. And it's a very great feeling in working in that kind of environment where uh, I think corporates in lunchtime, people keep talking about what the other company is offering in terms of money or benefits, and everybody is just focused on maybe finding either trying to find work life balance, or you're trying to find more money or something of that sort. But here the discussion would be around how to create maximum impact, which was like very refreshing for a change. And I felt I connected like immediately, and it felt like my kind of people. And yeah, that was the case.
And you are definitely all smiles while talking about this program. So I'm sure you have finally find your passion.
Yeah, I am glad. I'm never coming back to finance, and this is the place I'll take. This is the sector, and it feels great. I mean, every work you feel. We can talk about my projects, but long story short, that there have been projects where I've actually felt the impact of my work on the lives of people, and that is actually that gives you that kind of satisfaction that maybe you don't get in other places, and that significance part that I was talking about, and that gets triggered when you actually see some impact. And CMGGA provides you definitely a great platform, and you have all the government machineries to support your work, and you have a lot of supporters given by Ashoka University, your program team, in order to like find the initiatives, to conceptualize them, to create them, work on strategies and everything. So there's nothing I feel there could not have been a better entry to this sector than CMGG program. So I'm really glad that I took it, and I'm really glad that it helped me find what I want to do, because I think I was lost before. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so Achita, I've read a lot about the DD program you and your team had started in Palwal. So would you like to explain what the DD program is all about?
Right. So DD stands for this developing interaction for deriving inspiration. What it is it's a mentorship program which aims to connect underprivileged girls from government schools, the girls who are in, let's say, 10th, 11th, 12th standards, who are at the verge of doing like major career decisions, to like very successful, very ambitious, independent women who can serve as role models and like help them in a lot of things, which can be anywhere from confidence, it can be career, it can be a lot of things. So it started from this basic idea that whenever I went to a government school in my district, and I would ask students, what do you want to become after school, or what do you want to become in life? So the boys will give a very wide variety of answers. Boys would say like all sorts of career options: lawyers, chartered accountants, doctors, anything. A lot of them would be wanting to become businessmen and government officers. A lot of diverse things. But then if you go and ask a government school girl from a place like Haryana, and I'm sure this is the case in other states as well, uh, and they could come up with either teacher, like 90% of them, if you ask what do they want to become, they would say teacher. Some of them would say nurse, or some very few will say doctor, but they like nothing beyond that, mostly teachers. Everyone wants to become teachers. And like I realized why exactly is that, why. So the thing is, in that their setting, in their life, we may not relate immediately, because we've not been, most of us have not lived in those kind of conditions, but they've not really seen women becoming a lot of things around them, like in their village or in their families, in their, among their relatives. So it creates a mental barrier to like imagine beyond like beyond one profession, which is teaching. So that mental barrier, it costs a lot to the meritorious girls who can like genuinely become anything. I've seen girls work, these students working so hard, the government school children, maybe like twice as hard to a lot of other children in private sector, because they also, you need to realize that government school conditions are not always great. There are sometimes teacher deficiency, some teachers are lenient, there are a lot of issues in education sector, we're all aware. And this is not Haryana. Actually, Haryana must be a little better than a lot of states that now I have seen, but it's everywhere. And so there are a lot of conceptual deficiency that you have while you're growing up. So maybe a concept which was used, let's say, in fifth standard, but it is going to be used all your life. Now most of us, because our concepts were great, because our teachers paid attention, we paid attention, our parents paid attention, we had resources when we needed, we had support when we needed it. A lot of these kids did not have that. So when they are studying for, let's say, IIT, or they are studying to become a chartered accountant, they genuinely put twice as hard as effort. I've seen like these girls working, like studying 12 hours, 15 hours, like working so hard. And even then sometimes, owing to lack of uh, mentorship, lack of support, you don't know what next, right? Imagine growing up in an environment where nobody there is nobody who can tell you what are the options after 12th standard. And so that was the condition which really hit us hard. And then we thought, what exactly can we solve? And then there are career guidance options, and there are other options. There's a lot of schemes that government provides, but then we realized that a lot of these are very general solutions. It may work, it may not work, but they're thought of in a very general way. So something which applies to everyone. But mentorships is something which is very customized. If you have one mentor, so we allocated one mentor, one of these women, successful and everything, to one mentee. It's just one on one. So that mentor has to just focus on that one girl in solving her problems. And then that mentor is given access to call her principal if she's having some issues in the school. And then we provide all kinds of support to for this DD program to mentors in helping them help mentee. We have a curriculum. Each week has a target. Some week maybe about confidence, another maybe about figuring out what they want to do in career, another maybe about issues like financial literacy, menstrual health, and a lot of other things. One may be about fundamental rights that you have in this country. So a lot of these things which we take for granted in otherwise the privileged section of society, we try to integrate that in the DD curriculum, and we found the most passionate mentors to mentor these girls. In a nutshell, and because I've been talking about it because I'm very, like, I love this program and the impact that this has been able to create. A lot of our mentees in this first batch were selected for scholarships, and we've seen the kind of relationships mentors have built with mentees. Some of them teach English to these mentees, some may be helping in some other ways, some support in maybe by financial means. So it has been working well, and we're starting with another batch, and then I think it's integrated in the system now, that it'll keep on happening and happening, and which I feel very happy about, that we've been able to do this.
That's some great work you and your mentors have been doing. And was it your brainchild?
I think it was me and city magistrate ma'am, who I was working closely with when I was in Palwal, and then there was support of all the officers, IS officers, HCS officers in the district. The district administration had been very supportive of any new idea that I brought. We built other projects. We built some. We did a lot of work in COVID. We were able to raise funds and build makeshift hospitals during COVID. And then there was initiative I built in livelihoods. Whatever project I started and I tried doing, I received like all kinds of support from both my program team and the district administration.
That's great. And especially when we hear all about the red tape, the bureaucratic process, the long wait times. That's great that you have been so supported by everybody.
No, no, no. The reality is always in the middle of two extremes. I won't say the government systems are the best, but I won't say they're as bad as people think. There are so many great officers, and I've been lucky to be in touch. My additional deputy commissioner always supportive of my work. My deputy commissioner, the SDMs I worked with, city magistrate ma'am, always a support. So everyone, I think I got lucky for this reason. Palwal is not really that like interesting of a district. In fact, before I was allocated Palwal was not a place that I even knew where it was on the map. I knew Palwal exists. I did not know, but being there, it started feeling like home after a couple of months. And I think you can't really do much if the government offices are also not interested. I think they must have also felt some level of comfort in working with me, and they showed a lot of trust in me, and I'm like actually very very grateful for that.
That's great, man. Okay, so Archit, you work obviously work with a huge lack of funds, and you work with people who are not really technologically sound, and a lot of them are not really educated. So there's always a problem of social stigmas as well, and old age beliefs and conservative like beliefs. So how difficult was it for you to work in such an atmosphere, and how were you able to manage these problems?
Right. So you mentioned a couple of things. First, you
Yeah.
mentioned lack of funds. Then you mentioned I feel
People
lack
are
of
not technology,
technology
yeah, and not
low
educated, not very
education
educated.
levels.
Yeah,
And then you mentioned
yeah,
social stigma.
yeah, right.
So, starting with funds, like I really, really feel that if you're passionate about actually something and you're going to go extra miles, funds are never an issue. There are a lot of government funds that are always there for some specified purposes, but they get lapses, is what I've learned in the government. That's one source of funds always. I raised a lot of CSR funds during my time, and I used it for one of this healthcare initiative and sometimes other things. And I feel if you're actually CSR scenario is improving day by day. People are putting more and more money in CSR in ethical ways, and uh, if you really want to create that kind of change, funds get figured out. There are sometimes funding sources that I feel people have found creative ways to actually fund their initiatives. Sometimes because you're doing like something for the society, people support you also without funds in ways that I had to I think twice in my duration I had to get some application or software this built. And both the times once I got connected to these amazing students of triple IT Allahabad or other places. So I did not have to use any government's money in, let's say, software development. And sometimes you ask local NGOs to support. I realized there was at one point during COVID times lack of some small medical equipment like flow meters. It was very much in scarcity those days, and I went out to the local NGOs and prominent people. And when you're actually I feel invested in a right cause, the support and the resources get figured out. Technology I actually feel is a bigger issue than funds. And the thing is, when we're talking about technology, you would be very surprised to know that government uses WhatsApp. Government offices and even all the government employees use WhatsApp very well. So because WhatsApp is as a technology, nobody realized that government people will use it that extensively, or even old people. But if the technology is one accessible plus in your language, I feel that barrier you can close. I made one app called Kushala. It was for livelihood related to self-help group these self-help group women create for like uh, interloaning and livelihoods. And we remember we made that app in all of that app in Hindi, so it's easier to adapt for you need to understand your audience who will be using that app. So if you keep these things in mind, ease of using and language in mind, I think technological barriers can be taken care of. If you add the government, a lot of governments add a lot of complex technologies for government employees, which are sometimes difficult to get adapted to, which is an issue. But otherwise, I think it can overcome. And social stigmas are something we all live with, and that's the fight. That's what a lot of them. That's what we're fighting. We've seen a lot of cases. We've worked a lot in Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, in which we've tried to focus on PNDT Act and why are there illegal abortions and illegal detection of the child sex. And so there are a lot of things that you work on, and there are a lot of awareness campaign that you can design to overcome these social stigmas. And sometimes the issue with awareness campaigns are that when they're created, they're sometimes created from a thought which does not really match the target audience. And in a simple way, that for example, there's a national level let's say initiative like Swachh Bharat. Now the thing is, there are two ways to do awareness programs. One is create IEC material at national level and then just translate it to different language and send to all the states and send to all the districts, villages, everywhere. Another way is let the districts figure out what works for their people, right? Let the districts be, I mean, let's say one district is a religious district. Let's say we're talking about a religious place like Haridwar, right? In places where their religion is bigger issue, you, for example, to you focus on a social problem more from a religious lens, so you can associate cleanliness with maybe religion, right? Because religion does say that it should be clean, where God does not rest where there's no cleanliness, and you can come up with all those slogans in maybe Haridwar, but the same maybe won't work in Delhi, right? So a lot of these social issues are can be solvable if you have like the end beneficiary and the last mile person in mind, I feel. And that's just only my thought. I'm sure there are experts in all these areas which can contribute more to it. So yeah, that is more or less something that answers your question, I feel.
You have definitely come up with some very innovative solutions to tackle these problems. Uh, okay, so how do you think your role as a chief minister's global governance associate, good governance associate, sorry, became all the more important, especially since it started during the COVID pandemic?
Yes, so it was a unique challenge, not just for us, but everyone in the government. We're still young people, can figure out technology, do meetings on Zoom, and it was even more difficult for government people to adapt. But you'll be happy that they adapted very quickly, at least in the first wave. Um, and it was there were farmer protests also in Haryana during our times. So these were some very turbulent times if you think from the perspective of being there in the district. All of us, all 25 of us, got COVID at some point or the other, and but because you have to meet people, you have to work, and there's no real option. And if someone like, and sometimes even citizens come to your office and they are in like they need some help of yours, and you can't really tell an old person to wear a mask all the time and everything, and so there are always lapses, and you need to be aware, you need to be actually be okay with that kind of thing. Or it's not like nobody will ever ask you to be in physical contact with other people, but you inevitably do. We received all the support from administrations to work from home or work from anywhere, and there was no any kind of barrier to that. uh, but a lot of times what happened is you start an initiative and it involves physical presence of someone, and then COVID comes back again, another wave, and then sometimes cases rise, and there were schools opening and closing all the time, so you create an initiative for education or you're trying to implement a scheme in education, but then suddenly it's COVID again. So you have to adapt very very quickly to uh, online mode. Maybe whatever you were doing offline, always have a online backup of that. If you're thinking of delivering some sessions on online to, let's say, students on career guidance, maybe also have a way to figure out a way to deliver it to them last mile on their WhatsApp. So these were the challenges, and there was sometimes a sense of hopelessness that whatever you're doing, maybe COVID will come back again and it'll all end up in nothing. That being the case, now when second wave came, the focus shifted from anything else to COVID again. Like everyone was working in COVID. Some people were working in doing data analysis and figuring out the reasons of maybe why there are deaths, and what exactly is there inequitable distribution of beds. Maybe some part of the community is getting more resources than the other. How do you manage oxygen cylinders? How do you manage other things? Some people worked extensively on other matters. There are a lot of things which are in hands of district. Let's say um, this declaration of containment zone that is decided at a district level, so district administration has a lot of control. Sometimes you support the deputy commissioner in what they feel is needed for the district, because of course they're more experienced and they've worked with the nuances of district administration for a long time. And so there were a lot of ways you could contribute even during COVID times, but you had to deal with a lot more uncertainty than other years. That what will all this amount to? And a lot, everybody lost someone during the second wave. You had to deal with that. A lot of people lost some close ones. and the second wave was very painful. You were always we were always on phone. I remember it was just 2 3 4 hours of sleeping, and sometimes you were just helping some one person on the phone, and in the meanwhile there's one another phone call on waiting, and you get this person bed, support them in getting a bed in the, let's say, the district hospital, and then on the way to, when you get back to the other call which was on waiting, you realize that the person is no more. So there was some very heartbreaking moment that sometimes there's nothing much you can do. But from all in all, I felt district administration or government of Haryana, they were very very committed. I'm sure there were issues at a national level on infra, but comparing to other states of the country, chief minister, whether it be chief minister's office or whether it be officers at district level, they were very very focused on like fighting COVID. And when you see that kind of passion in people, you also the sleep becomes secondary, and everything else becomes secondary. So you try to contribute in whatever ways. Different people contributed in different ways, and yeah, what we were able to do in Palwal is we raised CSR funds, and we got makeshift hospitals made, which had like which had like ventilators, everything, which can be made in like 7 8 weeks. We got it built in all three subdivisions of Palwal. Some beds here, some beds. So it was a significant improvement, which as a project I'm very proud of, that I was able to contribute to significant improvement in district's medical infrastructure, so that hospital units now stay there. Now they'll be used for some patients in maybe near future. Maybe if COVID comes, hopefully it does not come back, but if it comes in its grey form, maybe we won't now feel the lack of beds now, and we'll be more prepared. So that makes me happy, but of course dealing with it was painful, to say the least.
Definitely, it was some trying time for your batch of associates, and I'm sure you have done a lot of great work there, and that's really amazing, man. Okay, so I will be moving to a different kind of tangent. So you are a big advocate of meditation. So how did your tryst with meditation began, and how has it transformed you? How do you think it has transformed you?
um, Meditation, I think, for me just started with curiosity. um, I was curious about what it does, and um, of course, I had some dissatisfactions in terms of some very basic dissatisfaction, that whatever I felt, even during the best of my days, I felt there was some sadness involved, and I think some of it was causing because I was in the wrong profession then, I think. Plus, you know that CA is a course which is correspondence course, and you don't really go to college. You don't have that kind of environment around. And it started with this thought that maybe like life has something more to offer than what it's offering me right now. Then I tried different techniques, different teachers, and different schools of thought. I remember I once went to Nepal as well. I tried all the ashrams in Rishikesh, and I tried this and that. Sometimes I tried by reading a book. Most times it was not work. It did not work out. Most times it was maybe just a bunch of feel good stuff. Some meditations are just make you feel good for the time being. Sometimes it was that, and I think I discovered Vipassana, which was a great like progress for me. I did multiple courses after it, and I think it gave me that sense of self awareness, which like plus the sense of calm. Relatively, me having a relatively like hyperactive brain, which is like difficult to keep a balance of, and that really helped me with the studies, with figuring out what I wanted to do. And I think it was always a resort that I could go to, like if I'm having a bad day, and if there are things which are not going well, meditation as a tool is always there for you. So as a support to your mental health, it's a great thing. Not that it can fix any mental ailments if you have, so that is also another extreme. But as a whole, meditation can be a very good tool to support and maintain a good mental health, is what I feel, and that's what it has helped me do. Of course, it helps a lot of people with concentration. It helped me with concentration. It helped me with my long sittings. during CA final for studying, because I did not do a lot of coaching classes. I studied myself, and sometimes when you're sitting for that long, it's you get restless and it's very difficult. So calming yourself, I think meditation had a great role, and I came across it at the right time. I got lucky about it, and it helped me a lot. Whether it be clearing CFA, whether it be CA, or it be figuring out what I want to do with life, it was a big help, I feel.
Great. So Ajit, you have already told you are not going to go back to the corporate sector now. So what are your plans now? What are your future plans now?
Uh, my future plans are that I feel I'll be continuing some education initiatives, which includes DD program, and then I'll make other initiatives, and I'll work in this sector only. I'm thinking of some things in mental health, and which some may be very raw thoughts, and but I feel I want to contribute to uh, the space in whatever form I can. And I think I'll feel more to I think by the end of an year, more towards the independent entrepreneurial side of things as a social entrepreneur, then working in templates. I've enjoyed the templates that I've worked in, but I think templates for me, I mean, template as a work profile, as a job profile, as everything. Template for me has started losing their importance, and I feel I'll create my own template, social enterprise, which I feel can have the values I have in me, plus can create the impact I imagine creating.
That's great, man. So Ajit, that was the end of my questions, and it has been a great interview. And I would just like to say that for us people, these things, this poverty, education, all these things are always just a statistic we hear in the news, and not more than that for most of us. But we have definitely got a lot of insights what goes on behind the scenes, what is the reality happening on the ground. So I think that's a great insight from you, and definitely a lot of people will be motivated to, maybe who want to start in the social sector, go towards helping people. Maybe the corporate is not their cup of tea, so it will definitely help those people. And thanks a lot for doing this, Archit, and you have done some amazing work, definitely.
Thank you, Ikansh. It was really interesting to discuss these things with you. Sometimes you also forget, and I actually, unless I'm talking to a chartered accountant, I actually forget that I am one sometimes. But it's good to remind yourself, and I think it makes me only happier that I discussing all these things with you, and I'll be happy to contribute to whatever I feel I'm capable of in the near future, as and when things happen. And that's it. It was great talking to you.
Thanks, man, and keep doing the amazing work you are already doing. Thanks, man.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.